what can I say? The place is unruly, undisciplined, unreliable, and unsafe. They need some adult supervision. What did he say yesterday? The president, something like, nobody's been subjected to more criticism. Really? You're telling me that? You got to have thick skin. Get some thick skin, okay?
Despite those comments yesterday, House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi is calling on Democrats to show restraint when it comes to talk of impeachment. She's urging her caucus to, quote, curb their enthusiasm until the facts are known. And she's not the only prominent Democrat saying that. We'll look to get more of those facts next with a member of the Judiciary Committee, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, when Morning Joe comes right back.
Watergate. The investigation changed from counterterror to a criminal investigation, and if so, what are the repercussions?
Well, I assume that this has been a counterintelligence investigation primarily, but as Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein said, this is going to be up to Director Mueller under the appointment he got as special counsel.
As someone who is on the Intel Committee and perhaps open to much more information than many of the other members, I don't want to characterize. I don't comment on that.
I think the shock to the body is now considered a criminal investigation, and Congress's ability to conduct investigations of all things Russia has been severely limited, probably in an appropriate fashion.
Okay, with us now, member of the Judiciary Committee, Democratic Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island. Senator, thank you so much for being with us. Has this now moved to being a criminal investigation?
I think it's both a criminal and a national security investigation at this point, and one of the issues that Bob Mueller is going to have to sort through is managing the criminal investigation independently while still providing the necessary intelligence feeds out of the investigation to the broader intelligence community.
And tell us generally, what does the criminal investigation involve?
Hard to tell, and that's part of what gave Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein such difficulty yesterday, because it's not his call and it's not our call, it's Bob Mueller's call. And it could include things as, there were a lot of questions yesterday about the Rosenstein memo, and Rod was very cautious about answering any of those questions because he said it is possible for the very creation of that Rosenstein memo to be a part of the Mueller investigation. And until it's clear that it's not going to be, he doesn't want to start muddying up the waters for the Mueller investigation.
So, Senator, he admitted to you what some have speculated here on the set this morning, that that memo may bring him into the middle of this investigation.
It's at least up to Bob Mueller to make the choice whether it should or not, and Rosenstein was very appropriately respectful of that choice that will be Bob's to make.
Willie Geist is in New York and has a question. Willie.
Senator, good morning. Good to have you with us. Just lay out the landscape, if you could, on these investigations. I think a lot of people out in the country heard yesterday, okay, appointment of a special counsel. How does that change the Senate investigation, and what's the distinction between the two?
Well, it really doesn't very much. You have a situation in which Congress would love to peer over the shoulder of Bob Mueller and see everything that he's doing, and Bob Mueller would love to have all of us just plain go away. And the fact of the matter is that there's going to have to be deconfliction between our legitimate oversight and legislative investigative efforts and his criminal investigative efforts, and we're going to need to get a system in place so that that deconfliction can take place through a responsible air traffic control. And while all that is going on, you have the other conflict between the secrecy and the privacy and the independence of his criminal investigation, and the fact that any intelligence information that comes out of it needs to be fed to the intelligence community so that we can be making appropriate national security decisions. It's not going to be all that easy, but I think Mueller's a very capable guy to sort his way through it.
Gene Robinson.
Senator, I have a question on a slightly different subject. You're a member of the opposition now. This is a Republican White House that's kind of in chaos. Is there any sort of constructive communication between Senate Democrats, for example, and the White House that sort of moves the country forward on any issue?
Well, I'm in touch with the White House on their cybersecurity executive order. Was consulted beforehand. Want to continue to work with them. Have discussed it with the White House since the executive order came out. I think there are issues that are outside of the immediate tumult of the Oval Office and all of these investigations where, you know, good people who've been around government for a long time are trying to get important things done, and we're more than happy to work with them on that.
Senator, it's Catty Kay here. What's your sense on the timetable of your investigations and on the FBI's investigations following your hearings with Rod Rosenstein? There's quite a lot of frustrations that things are moving slowly and that we're not getting much information out of both the Congress and the Senate from their intelligence committees. Do you have any sense of the timing of things?
Well, we need two really rapid things to happen from former Director Mueller, now Special Counsel Mueller. We need him to set up whatever the air traffic control is going to be so that we are deconflicted and not bumping into one another. Hypothesize for a moment that Mike Flynn is a cooperating witness in the FBI investigation. If that's the case, you don't want him dragged in front of the Intelligence Committee or the Judiciary Committee to give further complicating testimony. Examples like that need to be deconflicted. I don't know that that is a true statement, but it's examples like that that need to be deconflicted. And second, at some point, they're going to have to make clear what exactly the new structure is now that the Department of Justice has to incorporate Bob as a special counsel. What does that look like? Who reports to whom? Where does Dana Bente, for instance, figure into this? So once those questions get answered, we'll be able to engage much more directly and know whose lines are whose so that we can go forward. But we should be going forward rapidly on the investigation, focusing on what the Russians did with a view to making sure that our defenses are up so that they can't do it so easily again in 2018. Those are legislative matters. Those are laws that need to be changed. And so that's a really important task that has not gone away because Bob Mueller was appointed.
Bob Woodward. Senator Bob Woodward, key lingering question in all of this that has not been answered. Is President Trump under investigation?
I don't know that. And I think Bob Mueller will have to make the final call. I think it is clear that the investigation leads into people in his circle. And whether he is directly under investigation or not, as you know as well as anybody, if you flip somebody and they give you a new bunch of material and that leads you to somebody else and then you flip them and that leads you to a new bunch of material, you can walk your way towards the Oval Office pretty quickly. I do not know that they are there yet.
Heidi.
Senator Heidi Presbella here. The broader investigation that you speak of, which is separate from the criminal probe, House Democrats say that Senate and House committees simply do not have the resources to address the magnitude of what happened here in 2016 with the Russians, and they say they are definitely coming back in 2020. There's a lot to be examined there. Do you need something bigger, like a commission, like the 9/11 style commission, that has the staff and the resources to quickly examine this?
I think an independent commission would be a really good idea to do exactly that. Again, that adds yet another player onto the field because our responsibilities don't go away. And so that raises the deconfliction problems, but I nevertheless feel that that is a very, very good idea because they can be more independent. For instance, one of the things that may be important in all of this is to get a better handle on the dark money that is flowing into our elections, because if it's dark enough to hide the hands of, for instance, ExxonMobil, it's dark enough to hide the hands of Vladimir Putin. Well, there are very strong political interests in Washington that want that dark money to continue to flow. An independent commission would not be as burdened by those kinds of restraints.
All right. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, thank you so much for being with us. We greatly appreciate it as always. All right, coming up next, is President Trump outmatched and taking on James Comey and Robert Mueller? Politico says it's like challenging Usain Bolt to a 100-yard dash or John Cena to a cage match. A reference saying, sorry, I'm old. I don't get it. How the two former FBI leaders have been, quote, preparing their entire lives for this moment. Plus, we're going to be talking to the chief of the largest health system in the United States, the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, David Solkin, joins the table next.